So Mageso Dennis, please introduce yourself and explain why you are running for mayor of Kauai.
Thank you very much for having me here today. I appreciate that. My name is Mageso William Dennis, and I'm running for mayor. I'm not a politician. I'm a former businessman with a Fortune 500 company, Business Systems Division, head of operations. I'm running because a lot of people have asked me to run, because we've gone through quite a bit over the last years here on Kauai, where we feel our cultural identity has been slowly whittling away with COVID, when we went through COVID, and then the experimental vaccine, and the loss of all our small businesses. So that's what motivated me to get back into the picture. I've always stood up for people's rights. I actually teach the hierarchy of law, which are retained rights, do not come from government. Those are rights given to us at birth. And then we have our constitutional rights that protect that. And I saw a lot of violations of those retained rights and those constitutional rights during the COVID experience. And a lot of families were hurt, a lot of businesses were hurt. And so we got to put everything back together, if you would. And so that's primarily my motivation for running for office.
Excellent.
Thank you for asking.
Okay. So let me ask you, what personal and professional experiences best prepare you to lead the county government?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you. Well, as an operations manager in business, we do regulatory compliance. I'm involved in labor negotiations, acquisitions and mergers. I've managed multi-million-dollar budgets at the area, regional, and national level. We deal with public relations issues. I was in charge of logistics, inventory, training, education, finance, all the aspects. In business, we call that organizational leadership. In politics, in government, they call it politics. There's no difference, because really the government is a corporation.
Okay. What is your position on homelessness, and how should the county respond compassionately while maintaining public safety and public access?
Yes, thank you for that question. Homelessness, to me, is four categories, but dealing with homelessness as an addiction population, we need to bring those people into dignity. We need to provide special housing for them with maybe a campus environment set up with a medical facility where there's counselors and people on site that can help them deal with their addictions. At the same time, we can teach them a trade and prepare them to get back into the workforce to be contributing members of our county. So the compassion is to bring them in, house them, bring their dignity back, and restore them to the community. But that's only one aspect. When we look at homelessness, there's also the houseless community and the kapuna. The houseless community consists of two things. There's the unemployed houseless and there's the employed houseless. Two different scenarios. The unemployed houseless, again, need to have a work trade. Obviously, they're not employed. So I propose that we expand our vocational learning centers, because there are a few on the island, develop project-based learning centers, and at the same time, if we bring them into a community, they can learn how to build tiny homes, prefabricated homes, hempcrete homes, so they're learning a trade to make themselves marketable, but they also have a place to live as well, like they're building their own homes, if you would. Then there's the employed houseless. They have jobs, they're working fine. They're not there to build no homes, but they need homes. I don't agree with the current structure. They call it workforce housing. I like to call it stewardship housing, or employing a workforce. So they have a trade, they have jobs, but they can't afford the high rents. They can't afford a down payment for a home. They're struggling paycheck to paycheck. And this, again, was all a result of COVID, because they lost their jobs. A lot of homes were foreclosed on. Families were separated, and businesses, again, were shut down. And if you didn't take the vaccine, you lost your job. So everything was against the people. And the fourth category is the kapuna. The kapuna need their own dignity in their waning years. So if you have a family, employed housing or unemployed housing, you have families. But maybe we should have a kapuna cottage next to them with a little garden plot, because we're also about food independence. So if we put our people into an environment where they are happy, they're living, because as a businessman, I know that having happy employees is the key, okay? So I've been responsible for stakeholders, shareholders, big corporations. If you have happy employees, you're going to have happy customers or happy clients, right? So if they don't have housing or are not comfortable in their environment, they're not happy. And that becomes a reflection when they're out in the workforce, if you would. So if we have our people staying here, making a livable wage with a trade that's marketable, we then can improve and develop our workforce that can support all the needs to come to this, that'll keep our people here so we can be island independent, not only food independent, but island independent. So the kapuna wants to be with their family. So again, we've addressed 2 or 3 issues there: housing, wages, because as the unemployed are building their houses, they're being paid a wage as well. And that would be true of the homeless too. If they're involved in that, they're going to be getting a wage, but living on campus. So housing to me is at least 4 categories. Homelessness.
Thank you. So this next question is actually a 2-part question. Many residents say the cost of living is forcing local families to leave Kauai. What specific actions would your administration take to address affordability? And secondly, how do you define affordable housing?
The biggest question with me in problem resolution is, how did we get here? What was the root cause of that? Okay. And so affordability, as we know, is a buzzword. But again, I look at the loss of income. So during COVID, the big box stores were able to stay open. The mom and pop stores were shut down. And again, people lost their livelihoods. So I look at the county budget. It's $504 million. $378 million is for salaries, wages, and benefits. So these are, we'll call them non-producing people. They're not creating products. They're not building the economy, if you would. They're administration, they're passing paper. We have 126 million left over to solve homelessness, infrastructure, and other things, unless we're supplemented by grants or other things from the federal government. Affordability is not $400,000 homes, okay? It goes back to the tiny homes, the prefab homes, which they're 1, 2, and 3 bedroom homes now. They're not small structures. And creating those gardens, we can do that for under $100,000. Most of the cost is site cost. So when we look at people even building a new home or coming into a home, the developers pass all their site costs off to the homeowner. So the taxpayer and the homeowner is being hit real hard in the beginning, and that makes that unaffordable as well. But if we don't have a workforce that's making a livable wage, it doesn't matter all the housing you throw at it. If they can't afford to be there, that means they're going to be on government assistance, okay? And at some point, that assistance could go away. So we have to be prepared for the future. We have to be food independent. So again, affordability comes from, if we buy 90% of our food from other nations or off island, that cost, when the food comes back, we're paying inflated prices. So your cost of living is going to go up. If we were food independent, then that money is staying on the island, okay? So now if we're island independent, where we have other businesses that are going offshore because we don't have those services here, we then go work with our small businesses association. We develop entrepreneurs that can fill those work needs to keep services here on the island. We work with our small businesses to expand their businesses to where we supplement them with a workforce that I mentioned before with project-based learning or vocational learning centers. So we have skilled labor right here on Kauai and not bringing it in from the outside. The other part is when these bids go up for homing or a development, most of the bids are won out of Oahu or the other thing. They're not supporting our local contractors. It's not a fair process. So everything is against the people. And it goes back to that formula that I just said. If we have happy people, you have happy customers, you have a happy island, you have a happy county. You start from the bottom up because without a foundation, nothing can stand. We need a strong foundation. And our foundation is the people. That's why my platform is people first governance. Government supports people. Government is here to care for people, but not to control every aspect of their lives. And that all plays into the affordability, the question that you asked. Money in the pockets, people staying here, learning a trade, everything is self-contained. Because if we have a disaster, which we've had, okay, that brings me actually to non-governmental organizations. We have 938 non-governmental organizations on Kauai. We're an island of 73,000 people. Nothing against non-government organizations because they're very helpful in times of disaster, the food banks and those things. But then we owe it to the taxpayer to make sure that every taxpayer dollar is bringing back a service to the people. It's producing results. As a businessman, we're always thinking of the results. So we need results. At the same time, we honor those who are successful, have transparency, and are accountable. Well, at the same time, we have to review every contract to make sure there's no duplication, waste, fraud, or abuse. Because again, we owe it to the people to make sure every tax dollar is spent wisely. So that contributes to the affordability as well. So if we can streamline, if you would, our operations where a lot over the years that I've seen is we throw a Band-Aid approach at things, whether it's housing, infrastructure, or whatever. One size doesn't fit all. I'm sorry, I tried fitting into a size 0 once. It didn't work. It wasn't pretty. So we have to be smart in our management. And everything we talk about today, whether it's housing, infrastructure, jobs, homelessness, it's all part of the infrastructure. And we need to take back our cultural identity and to move forward with the island. We're the garden island, which means we're the food producing island. So again, we expand with local farmers. We expand our farming. We expand farmers because they say they're short of farmers. Well, through project-based learning again and vocational learning, we can create farmers. Then we'll have farming housing. So where they have housing on the property, they're learning a trade. We can then certify them so they can become certified growers. So then we can have more land and grow more food. So again, we have less dependence on the outside. I hope that answers your question.
It absolutely does. Thank you. Very thorough. My next question. What industries or economic opportunities should Kauai invest in beyond tourism?
Oh, that kind of, in a way, contradicts what I just said, that we want to be island independent. So we want to bring in industries that will fill any voids, but they're also employing our people, okay? And for example, if we were bringing in a company that would change the image of our island when it comes to waste management, which is a good topic. So we would want them to hire our local people, train them in those skills that would help them install micro waste management systems that could replace the existing systems that are in place. They're more efficient. So I would want to bring in those types of industries. You might get into infrastructure, so I don't know if you want me to expand there now, because I see the whole thing. It probably is a good time with the infrastructure because Our landfill is almost to capacity, right? We're spilling 150,000 gallons of waste into the ocean under a 5-year contract. That's unacceptable. It's also a health issue. So I'm proposing that we get into micro waste management systems. The Hawaiian system of the Moku and the Ahupua'a system is the most sophisticated yet self-sufficient and sustainable system in the world. We need to take more advantage of that. So we, at the Moku level, there are 6 Mokus on the island. So you look at that as 6 districts. And within those districts is approximately 70 Ahupua'a systems. Those systems took care of the forestry, the wastewater, the fisheries. It did everything. It was a self-sustaining system. It was run or managed by the Kapuna Council. We cannot discount the wisdom of the Kapuna that are here on this island. Okay, so the Kapuna Council overseeing the Mokus and our water systems, we could bring in micro waste management systems, which would eliminate going to Kaka'a to the landfill. We can have what would be called Moku recycling centers, and to handle not only human waste, solid waste, or all the plastics and those things. And that would be a self-sustaining thing. It would also create stewardship programs. It would create jobs, because beneath the Kapuna Council, you have your Konahiki and your Ali'i and the stewards of the land. So we're really stewards. We're not workers. We're not laborers. That's an old term, if you would. We're here to steward the land, because that is what we were given to do when we were created, to be stewards of the land. So at the Moku system, if we have a neighborhood, for example, people with cesspools, for example, we replace the cesspools with a micro waste management system that could be connected to a system at the district, the Moku, as well. And those micro systems at home can handle your gray water, your black water, your oils and grease, and your nutrients. So again, it's upgrading our systems. At the same time, the county has a problem with some of their piping. We have 425 miles of piping. We have 50 wells, we have 60 tanks, and 3,000 fire hydrants, okay? But some of our pipes are asbestos. And asbestos does leak into the water, those who are still drinking, say, county water and not purified water. So that's a whole service by itself. It takes a special team to go and take that asbestos out. And where do we bring it? We either farm it over to Oahu to be taken care of, or some of it goes to our landfill in Keka'a. That's unacceptable, okay? So as we decentralize these systems, we become more efficient. So if you look at just recycling in that system, we could do curbside pickup, or we could say, we want our people to be more involved in the process, where you bring your recyclables to this Moku station, which is in your community, in your district. So we're eliminating transportation costs over the Kaka'a, and it's more efficient. It gives responsibility to the people in the community and in their neighborhoods. I also believe that cesspool conversion should be 100% tax credit. Today they offer 20,000 or maybe 40,000. Let's forget about that. A micro waste management system at a home is about $20,000 to $40,000 anyways, a basic system. So it's going to benefit the environment, because we're not going to have these systems where if you have a pipe burst or an outbreak, it shuts the whole system down. No, we want it localized. So if we do have maintenance issue, that's why you have the Moku stewards, because these systems have to be monitored, and there's a maintenance involved in them. So again, the workforce watching this system that's already in place, that's been in place since the beginning of time, because we are the second or the first, the wettest spot on earth. We have to use the resources that are here today. We have the talent, we have the people, we have the wisdom and the knowledge of the Kapunas. All we need is to develop more people into the skills that will fit the direction we need to go to put this island back into prominence where our workers are abundant, which means our businesses are abundant, which means our county is abundant. And that's how we move forward in the golden age.
Love it.
It's all doable.
Okay. What are the three biggest challenges facing Kauai today, and what specific actions would you take during your first term to address them?
I don't see challenges. I see solutions, opportunities. There is nothing. I love it. You want to call it a challenge? As an athlete, yeah, I used to love it when somebody would trash talk me in basketball or something because my game went up another level. So if you say, here's a challenge or here's a problem, yeah, I'm all into that because I want the ball in the last 2 seconds. I want to be that guy that you're giving the ball to at the front line to score a goal or catch a pass, whatever it is, because we need to be in our ultimate authority. I'm kind of got away from that question again. Kind of the three challenges.
The three biggest.
So we already kind of covered that. The biggest challenge is the economy and the cost of living. And I already mentioned how we would address that. The second issue is housing, affordability, and we address that. And the third issue is infrastructure. So when you look at tourism and infrastructure, tourism brings in its own problems, okay? So when they're here, they're actually flushing more toilets. There's more water being used. And so we look at that, we're adding pressure onto the existing system. The biggest thing I hear with the tourism is the traffic. Well, when you look at traffic on the island, I see it between 7 and 9 going from Kapa'a to Lahui and from South Shore to Lahui. And then at night, 4 to 6, back each direction. So it's all about managing those times. What we could do to alleviate some of that pressure is create commuter parking lots. So our workers could all be parked at their location and then through an independent system, not the existing county system, that they be driven to work each day and brought back to their cars so they're still here to do their shopping or do other things they need to do. We could do the same things at the sacred sites or the real tourist hotspots, have a commuter parking lot at some point and bust in brought in by an independent group, again, to those sites. Because most of the tourists don't know where they're going anyways, right, when they get here. So they're constantly stopping and starting and creating our own traffic problems, if you would. We also could put traffic officers at those peak times to direct traffic, to keep the things flowing and moving, okay? So it's a team effort, if you would. There are times on the island where we shut down beaches. That creates a problem because now everything moves to another location because we should be replenishing beaches on a periodic basis. So we need tourism because that is our number one industry, but we need them to also be involved more in our culture, have cultural understanding when they get here so that they honor our sacred sites, that they know the protocols, if they would. So I say there's another opportunity for someone to run a business to where a tourist, a family wants to see all the spots in the island on various days. Well, the best thing to do is hire a local or a resident that's been living here most of their life for the day, and they'll bring you to all the locations that you want to go to for that day and educate you in the process at the same time. Because you're coming to Hawaii for that full experience, unless you're just one that's going to sit at the hotel and go down to the swimming pool, not even see the ocean. But that's a whole different avenue of people, if you would. So all these things are all opportunities to grow, put people financially fit, to grow trades, and to keep the island flowing, keep the island moving. I don't again see that as a challenge. In business, we've met challenges far superior to that, if you would. If you look at, we had one account, Fidelity Mutual Funds, for example. Our equipment is optical character recognition or optical mark sense recognition. Those are your voting machines. So if you want to get into voting, I can explain about that. And those machines, the smallest check that would go through a system was $25,000. So if you're constantly having money like that going through your system, those systems cannot be down. The problem we have with the island and keeping things moving is maintenance, preventive maintenance. We're doing crisis management all the time. Crisis management is not effective. It doesn't work. It's not sustainable. Periodic maintenance, scheduled maintenance, these systems all work together. These department heads should be working together, but they're all focused on solving a problem or a challenge instead of looking at the whole opportunity, because it all fits. It's all one piece. Infrastructure is everything we talked about. The people, the tourism, the cars, everything. The waste management systems, education systems, that's all part of the infrastructure. So that's not a challenge, that's an opportunity to say, we're taking back our island. We're going to be food independent. We're going to be island independent, which will help not only tourist flow, because people will be working together. My administration is not going to sit in an ivory tower behind our desk. We're going to be out there with the people. We're going to go into the neighborhoods, and we're going to say, how can we improve your quality of life in your neighborhood? What infrastructure needs are here? Then we go out to the community. We'll have town halls. We'll have, I want to say meet and greets, but whatever you want us to come to see your issues, our people will be there. And it will be the management that will go out there to see these problems. The biggest assets that our management has is our employees. So again, we're going to tie that link together. Happy employees. These employees come from those neighborhoods that need infrastructure, that need their quality of life improved, right? That need their cost of living improved. So they know their families aren't happy, right? If their roads are torn up or the constant pipe burst or whatever's happening. So that affects an unhappy worker, unhappy company. Again, it all fits together. We're a family. We're Ohana. Government is there to help your family, not to manage your family. We need to know your concerns, your issues, so we can bring problem resolution, not problems. Okay, we're in the business of resolution. So my department heads, when we first meet and come together, that's the first thing I would discuss with them. I don't know what the operation was like before, but moving forward, everything we do is, how does it benefit the people? How does it hurt the people? So when they say, well, when you meet your county council and you may have a dispute on certain issues of how to move forward, my first statement is going to be, how is it benefiting the people? How is it hurting the people? And the resolution is going to be, guess what? For the people. Not for government, not for special interests, even though we need stakeholders and shareholders and those things. You got to have the people. Because if the people are investing money, guess what? They're shareholders. They're now investing. That's what the stakeholder wants. Right. He wants his investment back. Well, you're going to get it from the people. If you deal with everything from the top down, no. The people, unhappy people, are not going to increase your profit line. I'm sorry. And I've been through that in over 20 years of business experience, as well as after that in coaching and in ministry and life coaching, is really getting to know what are the people issues. Okay? Because people don't need government. Government need people. Okay? So that's what I see in tourism. All that fits together as one. I hope that answers your question.
It does. Ironically, you mentioned county council in your last answer. So my next question is, how would you handle disagreements with the county council?
I think I just answered that. Any disagreement is, if it's dealing with the people, which it is, Every issue is about the people. How does it affect the people? We're probably going to have a new council for the most part this time around, which is good because we need new blood. We've had the same people over and over again since 2008, some since 2016, and they haven't improved the quality of life. They haven't improved the cost of living. They just keep band-aiding approach. So it's good to have fresh blood coming in, if you would, fresh ideas, fresh faces. Obviously, we'll have to get to know each other. And I always say to people, they say, well, Megeso is like this, he's like that. And I go, wait a minute. Have we ever broken bread together? Have we ever had a cup of coffee together? Then you don't know me, and I don't know you either. So we have to get to know each other and how we can work together as one team. And if the goal is for the people, it should be quite clear that there shouldn't be many disputes. Tell me your solutions. And there'll be disagreement maybe within that group. And this person will see it this way, they'll see it that way. And again, we'll come to a consensus, or at some time where I'd have to make a hard decision and say, this way, this is going to best suit the people. So any disagreements, any concerns in any department, county council or whatever, how is it benefiting the people? Period, full stop.
All right. Some residents may feel disconnected from the county government. How would you improve transparency and public trust?
Yeah, we lost public trust during COVID with everything that came down from there, because all the decisions back then were made on presumptions, assumptions, and hearsay. There was never a proper investigation. We were following a global plan, if you would, or an outside source. No, we had to look at Kauai. What was going on in Kauai? It doesn't matter what's going on in New York, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, or whatever. What is going on in Kauai? We didn't need to destroy 40% of our small businesses, okay? Because there were therapeutic cures during COVID, and those cures were kept from the public. They were deemed as conspiracy theories, for example. And now people really know that they weren't. So they were calling ivermectin a horse medicine, for example. Well, we got healthy horses, but ivermectin was a cure. You didn't need to have the COVID vaccine. It was your choice. I believe in freedom of choice, that people have a right to be vaccinated and they're not vaccinated. But a lot of people lost their jobs because they wouldn't be vaccinated. So you took the livelihood out of someone's family. You destroyed a family based on presumptions, assumptions, and hearsay. And then when people brought you evidence that there was an alternative, you discounted all that evidence. You didn't even inform the people in informed consent what was in the experimental vaccine. Remember, the key word is experimental. And under the code, Nuremberg Code, you're supposed to inform people of the ingredients within that vaccine. And again, you have personal choice to do it. So I have no problem with somebody who says they want it or don't want it. But also during that process, our own politicians were telling people on TV, on social media, if you're not vaccinated, you're killing the kapuna. You're hurting the kapuna. What an emotional abuse that was to people who didn't ascribe to that belief system. You can't go to church. What do you mean I can't go to church? That's my constitutional right. That's one of my retained rights, is my relationship with my Creator. So if I choose to go to church, I go to church. If I choose not to wear a mask, I don't need to wear a mask. I don't need social distance, because there was no science to support that. Right from the beginning, we knew the science and saw the science. One of my backgrounds is biotechnology manufacturing. So I had a little bit of idea of what was going on or not going on. But the bottom line is that politicians should have made a public service announcement on Hawaii TV, through the Garden Island newspaper, through other medias, to inform people you don't necessarily need to take the vaccine, especially children. They have a 99.17% chance of survival. And we've actually hurt the youth to this day, because now studies are coming out, children 5 to actually 16 have lost a lot of their immune system moving forward. So these are things that should have been studied thoroughly. But as you may or may not know, we're under the United Nations Agenda 2030 program. In 2012, I'm sorry, a group called ICLEI, the International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives, approached our mayor at the behest of the governor, Abercrombie at that time. And they, in effect, said, we're going to be under this, we're going to actually take over your county. They actually did. They didn't say it in those terms, but our mayor brought the mayors from the other islands over, and all the mayors agreed to go under the UN Agenda 2030 program. At that time, 2021, 2027 program. Okay, so in 2018, ICLEI took the firm grip on it. They've since renamed themselves Sustainable Life Government or something different. They have a new name now. But all those programs, in 2027, there was another group under that called Malmo. They've changed their name as well. That was when all our farmers had to retrofit to electricity to upgrade their farm systems. Most of our farmers couldn't afford that. So we're back to affordability again, right? So they have to absorb all these costs. Well, the farms today that are really surviving are hybrid farms, because along with the infrastructure and environment, we have a problem with solar. You go, what do you mean we have a problem with solar? Okay, solar saves us money. It provides for us. The problem is in 2035, we're going to reach the life expectancy of those solar panels. Now we have to dispose of them. Where are we going to dispose of them? We're going to have to send them to Oahu, which is going to cost us between $50 and $70 million to do that. Okay? By 2035, there's probably going to be new technologies. There already are new technologies being developed that are going to produce the electricity we're going to need, because consumption's going to increase 30% over time. We already know that's coming. So people are already looking at other energy sources, like small nuclear reactors, they call them, because the technology is not like a large reactor with radioactivity that goes into your system. And we can put them in the mountains, if you would, and they can generate enough power. Just 3 or 4 on the island could generate the whole island. That technology is still being developed, but it could be here sooner than we know. So we can't get stuck in one place. We can't get stuck in one system. Cesspool I talked about. Septic is good only in urban environments. Okay? We have a lot of homes that are outside. That's why that doesn't work, because you're gonna bring pipe all that distance out to rural areas? No. So we're not really doing smart management. And that comes from people that are stuck in a system, following an agenda that we don't need. Because again, Kauai is self-sufficient. That Moku Ahupua'a system, the people that are here, we have the natural medicines, we have the natural, all the fruits and vegetables that can be grown here. Why are we importing from other countries? We don't need it. That doesn't mean we want to be isolated, because along with that, once we're island independent, I want export. Now we make trade agreements just like we had in the old days with nations coming from Hawaii. We don't need a third party telling us what to do. We're not leaving the state. We're just being self-sufficient. We're not a burden on the state, because we can take care of ourselves. And we can help you at the same time, because we're food producing. We used to feed the other islands in the beginning, if you would, because we're the Garden Island. So exporting Hawaii-made products, goods, and services. The tourists come here for what? Hawaii products, goods, and services, right? They don't come to go to Walmart, but they end up there because our businesses were so crippled over time that they're still trying to survive. So that's why I say it's all together, to build up the small businesses, to build up the labor force, the workforce. Don't put them in enslavement camps or housing where they're on top of each other. Now, if I'm a local Hawaiian, for example, I want a lanai and I want a garden. I want fresh air. I don't want to be stuck in a cubicle. But all the UN agenda is for these smart cities. And you already can see it's being done here. You can see with the development by the county building, that again, they're cutting off of traffic. They don't really want traffic in Louis. So we see the containment. And I see the containment coming up in Kaloa as well. Now let's talk about Kaloa. Kaloa, they want to put 400 more homes in Kaloa, right? That's 120,000 gallons of water per day, not counting the number of toilets they're going to flush. You want to talk burden on the system? Oh, they want to put another 300 or 400 up in Kilauea. Well, there's another 120,000 gallons of water onto our system. Oh, you want 600 homes in Kapa'a off Olahana Road. That's 180,000 gallons of water today, not counting the toilets they're going to be flushing or whatever. You're throwing systems because people need housing. Yeah, but smart housing. You don't need to throw things at it and disrupt the entire infrastructure that can't handle what's here now. So everything feeds and again builds off each other. Crisis management. It doesn't work. Step back, take a breath. What do we say in Hawaii? Aloha. The ha is the breath. Our cultural identity is being stripped away every day by these development programs that are coming from foreign entities, special interests that are not here serving the people. They sound good, they look good, but in the long run, they're actually not cost effective. They're actually destroying the cost of living, and they're taking away the individual authority of the person who has a connection to a higher source and his retained rights. And that's a fourth part of my platform, is the retained rights of people. Government's job is to protect the rights of all people, to make sure you have access to life, liberty, property, and the pursuit of happiness. It also takes in the health, safety, and welfare of the people. So when you look at it on a broader scale, that's the President of the United States' job. But the United States is too big, so he has 50 governors. That's the job of the 50 governors, is to take care of the people. Well, the state's too big. Okay, they have mayors, they have county councils. That's their job. So our total focus, again, is the people. And once we can take that indoctrination and put it in our minds, make the people happy. Because everyone on that county council, everyone that's running a public office or whatever, don't you want to be happy? Don't you want your families thriving? Or do you only want your family thriving, but not this family thriving? You've got to look at the whole picture. We're a county made up of communities and neighborhoods, of which we have a diverse population of people. And we need to take care of the people first. So when I reach out to the unions, I say to the unions, I go, you know, your union jobs are protected, aren't they? It takes a lot to get you fired. The unions stand up for you, so you have unity. Well, when you go home, your brothers, sisters, aunties, and uncles, the titas, they're hurting. They're struggling. They can't put food on their table. They don't have housing. We need you, unions, to remember the people. You can stand up and say, stop, enough. We have to regroup and do things for the people. We got to stop putting the stakeholder first. And being a businessman, I know the value of the stakeholder. I know the value of the shareholder. But you got to take care of the people first, because without people, you have nothing. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Almost done. A couple more questions. All right.
I didn't take the sheets.
Duly noted. Kauai has faced major challenges in recent years, including the 2018 flooding, the COVID-19 pandemic, as you alluded to earlier, and recent West Side wildfires. What specific steps will you take to ensure the county is prepared for future natural disasters and climate-related emergencies?
We have a great, actually, disaster management system right here in Kauai already. uh, and also the CERT program as well. The only thing we need when it comes to a disaster, say like COVID, is we would have to get specialized medicines from Oahu. And of course, if they're having the same issues, that could be a problem because they're going to take care of Oahu first. So if anything, we would have special medicines on hand here. I also believe that we should have distribution centers for food and other sources on each part of the island, say 4 parts of the island. Again, for disaster, because again, when we had the flooding, things had to be flown in or brought in. And the one thing that I didn't really, that again fired me up for running for office, is when local people were boating in supplies to people hurting up in the Honolulu area and Hyanna and that area, they were told they couldn't do it anymore. It had to be done by FEMA and things like that. No, we know how to take care of our own people. That's where the good NGOs come in that are already in place with food supplies and emergency supplies as well. So we just need to have more community emergency response teams, CERT. Have a major hub here in Lihue and have CERT teams on different parts of the island. There's a great one up on the North Shore. That needs to be in every part of the island. So those are like your first responders, okay? So that should be in place. We also need, that's the biggest thing, is the distribution hubs and then the local hubs. Because again, we have a great team under, I believe his name is Yoshio. He's running a great organization here. So COVID, we covered the flooding. It's a team. Our bridges, that's a problem because really when you're talking about disaster, where's the evacuation routes? Okay. I look at Kapa'a, I look at Lihue. I mean, if you have a tsunami, for example, you got to be 300 feet up at least, right? How do you get there with the traffic, you know? And putting in those roundabouts were good in one sense, but then I look at it a different way. I go, what if you had an accident in a roundabout? Nobody moves. When you have an accident on a 2-lane highway, they shut down one lane and traffic keeps moving alternately. But if there's something in the roundabout, nobody's going anywhere. So that's an issue. How do you handle that? And how do we get to the people and create these evacuation routes for people? So we're limited in that area because where are we going to go? Waialeale, Kokea, those are pretty high grounds. But we just have to, be aware of everything that's going on. We have to be knowledgeable. And that's why it's the job of our politicians to inform the people. We're not here to scare the people. So if it's a pandemic, I say this and I say this. You choose because it's your life. I'll give you all the parameters, negative and positive, but it's not my job to tell you what to do. I am not God. I am not here to judge. I'm here to give you the facts. And I want anyone in our administration to give you the facts on both sides of the issue. I don't care what side it falls on, as long as it saves the people or benefits the people. Again, we're back to that. People first governance. So every situation we look at, we have to be honest. That's where your transparency comes in. And if we're not transparent, then you have to be held accountable. And I know many laws that were broken by our politicians during COVID that should be held accountable for the crimes they committed against the people by not keeping them informed. Okay, again, with therapeutic medicines, or again about why are big box stores open and we can't be open? Why can't we go to graduations? Why can't I visit my sick loved one? So my grandmother or my auntie is going to die because you believe this, you're telling me an agenda, and my God is telling me, no, I can go see her, and my auntie wants to see me, or my cousin wants to see me. We're going to deny them. That is emotional torture right there. That is psychological abuse. So emotional abuse is far more disruptive than psychological or physical abuse, okay? attacking people's emotions is so wrong, so wrong. And being a life coach and being in ministry and things like that, that's what we see, that's what we hear. So God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. So we listen more than we speak. And that's what we forgot how to do. We forgot how to listen. We're on our computers, we're on our phones, we're so consumed by technology and other things, we don't know what's going on and rely on one source of information. No, everybody needs to do their own research and not rely on one source of information. Get multiple sources. I mean, the computers are good for that way. You can find out something about anything, but we get caught up in the politics. People should not be involved in the politics per se. It's the politics that are supposed to take care of the people. And if you're lying to us, that goes back to public trust. Why would we trust you again? So if you lie to us during this facet of life, COVID or whatever, why should we reelect you? You're going to tell me that, oh, if I'd have known now, then what I know now. No, that doesn't cut it. It doesn't cut it. We had special investigators that didn't investigate. Okay? They were taking people's words for things, and it doesn't apply carte blanche. And you look at the 50 states, if you look at how different ones were managed, you can see different results. Okay? But every state made an individual decision. Our state went overboard in their decisions, in that one of the cures was sunlight. They wouldn't let us go outdoors. They locked us down. Sunlight, vitamin D, was one of the cures. We live in the most healthy environment that there could be. We really had next to no issues with COVID. But you got to remember, there was no flu during COVID. So COVID was really a type of flu. Okay? There were no flu statistics. Where'd the flu go? When I was growing up, we had flu every year. People died from the flu, and we're sorry for the people that died under COVID, but some of them didn't have to die. That's the point, because there were alternatives, and that's a disservice. So if you give people all the information, it's up to them to make their own intelligent decision on what I want to do. I mean, look at Canada right now. They have a plan right now. You could be 12 years old and say, I'm not happy with life. I want to die. They will euthanize you. They will euthanize you. Is that where we're at as people? Is that where we're going? No, we got to get back to living from the heart and the soul. And heart and the soul brings you connection to people. We have the aloha spirit law. Where's the aloha? We have people arguing it. I was stupid issues, I got to say, simple issues that don't deserve argument or fighting or discourse. They're just common sense. You can have your opinion. I welcome everybody's opinion. Everybody has a right to their opinion. And then we find out what's best for everybody by their own admissions. Don't follow me. I don't want to be followed. I don't want to walk in front of you. I don't want to walk behind you. I want to walk beside you. So we can move forward together, because a wide field can solve more problems and create more solutions than a singular line. Okay? So, right, again, my platform is people first, and everything to do with protecting their rights. If they don't know their rights, I'll share a story with you when I was in the 8th grade. My friend and I didn't want to square dance during gym class.
Okay.
So but the problem was it was the dead of winter. And we went to the gym and we took off our coats and our boots as if we were going to go square dance. And then we went and hit ourselves. And in the end of the gym class, the teacher knows we're not there. They take our coats and our boots and bring them back to the school. Well, now we have a dilemma. I have to either go home and tell my mother and father I lost my coat and my boots when there's 6 inches of snow out there, or I got to go to the principal's office and get my coat and my boots. So I went to the principal's office, and the principal said, you are never going to see the light of day in that gym class again for the rest of the year. You're going to sit in my office and you're going to write the Declaration of Independence and the United States Constitution. I thought it was a penalty back then, but it was preparing me for today. So I'm pretty astute on what the laws are at the constitutional level, retain rights, how they separated. Know the Hawaii State Constitution that was violated, the U.S. Constitution that was violated. I think I'm up to 33 laws that were broken by various people. I know the U.S. codes, and what I don't know, I know how to research the U.S. codes and interpret them. I realize that Hawaii revised statutes are just suggestions, they're not really law, but we follow a process in those statutes. But the whole thing is we're taking people's rights away over nothing, okay? We got to remember, people are meant to get along. People are meant to not be in disharmony. We live in a world of duality, right? So there's always going to be yes and no, Republicans and Democrats, or maybe libertarians and progressives and whatever, right? There's going to be good and there's going to be evil. All these things exist. So there's always going to be, no matter what organization you're in, IBM, General Instruments, OEK-TV, or whatever, there's always going to be an opposite in there somehow, right? We need to get the oneness. We need to get the clarity, okay? They always say left brain, right brain. Well, when your left brain is doing one thing, then you got to go to your right brain. That creates pause. We need to be clear. So there are cultures that tie their heads back, for example, to make themselves single-brained, single-minded. So when I look at something, I look at it in 7 directions in 360-degree view and say, this is what I believe it is. Guess what happens if I'm wrong? I can flip it right away because there's only yes or no. There's no gray and there's no maybe. Either it is or it isn't. Is it benefiting the people? I made this, oh no, that's not benefiting. I can change course right away. Unless I have an ego that's too big to change the course. So we have to get to clarity. So clarity of thought. And that again comes from knowing yourself. Because the answer is within, not without. Once we know ourselves within, our own authority, AU, the periodic table is gold, right? So once we're in our own authority, that we have a good understanding of ourselves, the good, the bad, the ugly, or whatever, we can navigate the rest of the world and not create violence or havoc because we know who we are, right? So if everyone gets to know who they are and not be manipulated or indoctrinated on who they should be, we'll be a much better human race at that point. So I promote people, I empower people, I direct people or challenge them to get to know themselves. And like I said, bring on the trash talk. It'll raise my game. But people have to know, don't be so offended by what you hear. But it's how we deliver that criticism or how we deliver that advice that's so important. So when I worked in Europe, for example, I learned that I could say the nicest thing in the world, but if my tone was off, that would be interpreted in a different way than I intended. Because they react to tone. In the United States, it's different, okay? So you have to know where you are, that each culture is different. So why are we trying to change the culture of the Hawaiian people? Why are we trying to change the cultural identity of our island? The most egregious offense in life is stolen identity. So I'm saying, let's take our identity back. Kauai has never been conquered. So let's not be conquered by foreign interest or foreign agendas. Let's look at the resources and the assets we have and let us move together as one, where we can manage our own environment. We know the needs of the infrastructure. We can work together to move forward with housing, to move forward with a better infrastructure, state-of-the-art infrastructure that's not imposing on sacred sites or the heiaus or the sites that are here, which is why we need Kapuna wisdom. So we just need to know our own lane, if you would, our own talents. I don't know everything. I don't know, you might, I don't think you know everything, but you might, is that we need each other. to bounce off ideas, but not to, I hate it when I'm talking to somebody and they're already formulating the answer to what I'm saying, because that means they're not listening again. Because I'm going to listen to you and hear what you have to say. Because if I'm ever going to move from my clarity for what I believe is right to change my position, I got to see another position that's factual that would make me change that course.
This concludes our interview. Mahalo to our candidate for taking the time to participate in Ho'ike Community Media's 2026 Kauai Mayoral Candidate Interview Series, and for sharing their perspectives with the people of Kauai. As a reminder, every interview in this series was conducted using the same format and released simultaneously through Ho'ike Kauai Community Media's YouTube channel, Ho'ike Community Television, and podcast platforms. On behalf of everyone at Ho'ike Kauai Community Media, mahalo for joining us. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.